what's the important part about marketing that most people miss?
Great question. I think a lot of people have like kind of split focus on their marketing. So they're making content without real intention. And so I have a bit of a different perspective on things, because if you look at like your funnel, or if you look at your business in a funnel, you have the top, the middle, and the bottom. The top of the funnel is to get new eyeballs, get new people to know about you. The middle of the funnel is to get those people warmed up and nurtured, to get them to know, like, and trust you. And the bottom of the funnel is to engage in a sales conversation and see if you can help them and sign them up.
Right.
And so a lot of people make content to try and just like go viral. So they're making top of funnel content to try and get lots of eyeballs. But the problem with that is you can't really control who's coming. And so you get a lot of really unqualified leads. It's very inconsistent. I'm not great at making viral content either. And so like I can't rely on that.
Welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I have Jeremy Pogue here hanging out with us. Super pumped for him to, share his wisdom and knowledge, and for you guys to hear a little bit of his backstory and hear some tactical steps of how to grow online. He's a coach of coaches, and he helps people scale and grow using ads and setting teams, which are, sales teams behind the scenes, which we'll go in depth with a little bit more. Before we do that, I want to, dive into a free training down below of many leaders need to learn how to scale and start their online business. If you want a free training down below, check that out. That will be a really helpful way for you to scale and grow. And then just my gift to you. Diving into the podcast here, Jeremy, I want to ask you, what is high performance? What does that look like to you? What's that definition that you've seen, that you've applied to your life, that you use every day?
Yeah, Nathan, thanks for having me on, man. Super excited for today.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been doing some thinking about this recently, and it's probably going to be very different from what a lot of people traditionally say. But to me, high performance is doing more of the things that give me energy and doing less of the things that drain me of energy. Because when I'm doing things that fill me with energy, that I'm excited about, chances are it's things that I actually really enjoy doing, that I like, that are within my zone of genius. And when they fill me up with energy, I can do them all day long, all week long, every single day.
Yeah.
And when I actually am like fully invested and interested in the things that I'm doing too, then I'm able to perform at a very, very high level too. Mm-hmm. And so one of the kind of like a tactical thing that I'm actually doing again this week, I try to do it kind of every kind of 3 to 6 months, is just like a very basic time and energy audit. So every 15 minutes, it's in my Google Calendar. I created a new calendar that can kind of like, you can click the box or like it shows it or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And just every 15 minutes, just listen everything I'm doing from when I wake up to when I go to bed. And then after a week of doing that every day, then you go back and kind of just like change the colors. Like either green is like things that I like doing, yellow is like things I don't mind doing, and then red is things that like I don't like doing, they drain me of energy, and then you can kind of optimize for that. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't see people doing that too often. I love that way to approach it. I've always heard like people writing it out, but I like that take with the calendar thing. I think that's a different perspective to help people do that. I'm going to try that. I love it.
Yeah, it works really well, especially because like I live my entire life just from my Google Calendar.
Right.
So having it on there just makes it super seamless.
Absolutely. So tell us what you do, how you serve people. Tell us how you serve your clients a little bit more. Give us some more insights in that.
Sure. So yeah, as you said before, we help coaches scale with ads and setters. There's a whole lot more that goes on behind the scenes, but that's kind of like the two main things, because what I've found is like most coaches are phenomenal at what they do. They're great coaches, but they're horrible marketers. And so we take people that already have proof of concept. So usually they're doing like kind of 5 to 30K a month. They got proof of concept. They know how to sell. They're making content to some degree already, and they've got some case studies and successful clients under their belt. And now they're kind of spinning their tires, struggling to reach that next level. So either they're doing like cold outreach or making content, trying to go viral, and kind of taking the traditional organic approach. And then we just kind of take the foundation that they've already built, pour some gas on that fire with ads, solve their lead problem pretty quickly. And then we plug in an appointment setter into their DMs on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
or like we get clients that do it on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever the platform is. And they talk to the leads, booking sales calls. So basically, like, to help them scale, and I'm sure like you're very well aware of this too, you got to add some form of leverage. And so before they're like, if they're doing cold outreach, they're selling one-to-one or marketing one-to-one. But with ads, you make one ad, now it can reach thousands of people. And then you get those people coming inbound to you. So the dynamic's a little bit different too.
Mm.
Same thing with a setter. We're getting kind of you out of the sales conversation, out of the like the lead gen, the call booking process, to then pass it on to a setter who's just in the DMs 6, 8, 10 hours a day, booking a handful of calls every single day. So then all you do is just kind of take the sales calls, sign people up, and then coach them and make content.
I love it. I want to dive into more of these tactical things in a minute here, but I want to get like an understanding of your backstory. Like, where did this all begin for you? Like, was there some challenging moments, right? Like grinding up to this point? Like, because let me paint the picture too. If you don't know, like Jeremy Pogue's in Kelowna, BC. He's next to many cool hotspots of people like Dan Martell and tons of other great entrepreneurs. And so you've built this environment. I don't know if you grew up there or you're there. I wanted to hear some of that too, but of like why you're there for one. And then like give us some context too of like where that all began. Where did this spark? Where was that craziness that started in your journey up into the success you have now?
For sure. So I actually did grow up around here,
Okay.
and it's very uncommon because it's like not a big city, but it's beautiful. We got lakes, mountains. They call it the California of Canada, and tons of wineries and stuff like that. Um, awesome skiing in the winter, hiking in the summer, biking, boating, all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of people move here. And so one of my buddies actually, he's moving here in 2 months from now. He just bought a place, but like he just hit his first $1 million month last month. There's a couple guys, other guys I know doing $1 million a month. There's Dan, him and I were like he's two floors below me right now in the office building. We're actually going to split this office together, but that fell through. But yeah, nonetheless, like the environment's incredible here, and just the energy is awesome. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be hosting a client retreat here soon, and I love like hosting and showing people around. So I'm super pumped for that. But yeah, kind of rewinding. So about 5 years ago, yeah, kind of around this time, um, just finished college, like probably like 6, 7 months before. I just moved out to Whistler, BC, a little ski town, worked at a hotel after that because I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then moved back home with my parents. So I was back here living with my parents in their basement. I had no money, no income, no idea what I wanted to do. I refused to get a 9 to 5. And I was like, I'm going to start an online business. I'm going to do something. I've been learning about it for a few years. Like I was reading lots of books and taking courses and stuff like that, kind of here and there. And then within the span of a month, the COVID lockdowns hit. Canada was pretty bad. So like you could hardly like leave your house at the start anyways. My dog died and my girlfriend dumped me all within like a month. And so I was in my parents' basement with no job, no money coming in. I had like maybe a couple grand in my name and no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And so I was like, all right. That forced me to really look internally and to just go deep because there was nowhere else to run. I couldn't. And so I was kind of backed in that corner, and the only way out was kind of inward and forward. And so I kind of just have a mentality where I'm like, I'm either all in or all out of something.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just went all in and just went to like the extreme. And so I started doing 75 hard. I turned my phone off and put it in a drawer for like 6 months.
Whoa.
And like deactivated my Instagram, like everything, and just went like, kind of just monk mode, really. But yeah. And I started reading a book a week. And then a few months after that, I put all the money that I didn't have on a credit card to buy a course from Sam Ovens. And I was like, I'm starting an agency. That's it. And so I went through that. As I was going through it, though, when I bought it, I was like, I'm going to do everything that this person tells me to do in this program because he's smarter than me, richer than me, more successful than me, and has the things that I want. And so clearly what I've been doing up until this point isn't working very well. I need to change it up. And so week one was kind of about like the offer, the foundations. Week 2 is all about mindset and like your identity. And so I remember going through the video, and I promised myself I'd go through one video a day. They were like 2-hour long modules, and I had nothing better to do. And so I was going through that, and he said, okay, write down 3 things you just hate doing. You never want to do, you hate the idea of it, and then just it makes you cringe and you just never want to touch. And so I don't remember the other 2 things, but one of the things I wrote down was cold calling a prospect. And then he's like, all right, now pause the video right now and do the thing that scares you most. And so I was like, oh, I just felt like so called out, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And so kind of right around that time too, my dad is a mortgage broker. And so I had been learning about marketing and ads and stuff like that for a little while. And so I think at that time I was starting to run ads for my dad and learn on Google, and then was doing Facebook as well to help him get some mortgage deals and more mortgage leads. And anyways, so that was kind of my niche. I was going to be running ads for mortgage brokers, helping them get more leads and deals. And so anyways, I was like, all right, I got to cold call a mortgage broker. And so I picked up my phone, went onto Google, and I just typed in mortgage broker in Prince George, which is like a town like 15 hours north of here, like northern Canada. It was like I don't know why, but it was like the furthest place away that I could think of. So I'd never have to see their name, their face ever again, because it was going to go so horribly. And so I pick up the phone, call the first one on Google. They don't answer. And so I'm like, okay, I got to speak to somebody. So I called the second one, and a lady picks up. I just rip off a 10-second elevator pitch. Hey, this is Jeremy from Kelowna. I run ads for mortgage brokers, help them get more clients. Is that something you're interested in? And she said, yeah, actually, I've been waiting for somebody local to reach out because I want to get my ads back up and running. I said, really? And I didn't know what to do because I never sold anything in my life. And so I was like, okay, that's awesome. This was on a Wednesday. And I was like, why don't we set up a call for Friday? I'm like, I got to run right now, but why don't we set up a bit of a longer call for Friday where I can learn more about your business and see if I can actually help, see if there's a fit. She's like, sounds good. So we set up a call for Friday. So I bought myself 48 hours. I skipped to like week 4 or 5 in the training. I went through all the sales stuff. I printed out the sales script. I like tweaked some of the questions for like mortgages and ads. And then Friday comes around. I dressed up in a full suit and tie, dress shoes on, like suit jacket in my parents' basement for a phone call. It wasn't even Zoom. It was a phone call. And I had the script print out in front of me at my little desk and called her up. 45 minutes later, she paid me $1,500 for the first month out of 3 months. And I went upstairs. My mom looks at me. I'm dressed suit and tie. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, Mom, I'm rich. And I told her what happened, and yeah, it was pretty wild. Wow. And so that was when, Summit Lead Gen was born. That was the name of my agency. Summit because I like climbing mountains. Yeah. And then Lead Gen because we were generating leads. So very basic. And then, 2 days, and then with that client, I didn't hear from her for like a week or 2. Like just ghosted me after she paid. And I was like, what's going on? And finally she reached out. She said like a day or 2 later, her dad passed away. She's putting her whole business on hold. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's insane. I'm like, okay, no worries. Like, let me know when you're ready to get back going. Like no rush, no pressure, whatever. And anyways, so long story short, I made a few hundred more cold calls after that. I didn't even book one sales call. And then I kind of gave up. I'm like, hey, there's gotta be a better way. And so a few months went by, I didn't sign any clients. And then I ended up joining another program with this guy that I was watching on YouTube for a while. And he was teaching some organic marketing on Facebook. You go to Facebook groups and post valuable stuff there. And then then you send friend requests and make content, stuff like that. I got kicked out of all of the mortgage groups day 2, I think. And so I was like, all right, well, why does this work? So I kind of took a bit of a step back, looked at the principles, and then I'm like, okay, where else do mortgage brokers hang out? LinkedIn. So I started applying everything on LinkedIn, making content, growing an audience. And then I started signing like a client pretty much every week. And so got it up to, I think I had like 8 or 9 clients. It was just me. And then I had a kind of a part-time guy running ads as well. But I started to get really burnt out because it was very like hands-on. I wasn't charging nearly enough. And my clients were actually getting really good results, which is awesome. But I just didn't love it because like it would get to the point where like the money would hit my account and then I'd be like, dang, now I got to do all the work. And it was just very like the relationships felt very transactional and it was very like technical, like me just sitting behind my computer, clicking all the buttons and stuff like that. And so I started to get really burnt out after like kind of like 6 months of that. But then the coach that I hired, he reached out one day randomly when I was like kind of just like looking for a way out. He's like, hey, dude, you're crushing the program. You're signing a client, like client or two every week. Like, do you want to join my team as my head coach and teach my other clients how you've been able to do that? I'm like, okay, sure. Like,
Yeah.
and so I started taking some coaching calls. I was like, I love this because now I was talking to other kind of like younger guys mainly that were like me instead of like a 55-year-old mortgage broker. And I was like, this is awesome. And like, I tell them, hey, here's what I did. Here's what worked for me. They do it, they get results. And then like, I'd see that transformation like right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is so cool. A month into that, his sales guy quit. So he's like, hey, Jeremy, you want to start taking sales calls? I'm like, sure. I'm like, yeah, I know sales. Like I've been closing for the agency, you know, I've signed a whole bunch of people. And then I went, long story short, I think I closed my second client, but like that dude's roommate was also in the program and like scaled to like 100K a month before. And so like my dog could have taken the call and signed him up. And so I really did just get lucky and it bought me some time because after that I got 15 no's in a row. And then I was like, okay, I got to fix this. And then so I just dove deep into sales training, did 75 hard again every morning during my outdoor workout at 5 a.m., listen to a successful call recording or sales training. That'd take like 10 hours of Zoom calls that day between coaching calls and sales calls. And then after that, I'm listening to more sales training and like re-listening to my unsuccessful calls that didn't close to try and figure out why they didn't. And so I was just doing that 6 days a week for a while. And, and then I was also running the agency still at that point. And so I was like coaching, closing, have my agency, making content for that. It was,
Wow.
oh yeah, I was earning it.
Yeah.
And then, it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is too much. So I actually shut the agency down, went all in with this guy. Cause I was 23 at the time. He was 21. So he was a couple years younger than me, making like 40 grand a month. I was like, that's insane. And so I'm like, I just want to get as close to this guy as possible, just learn as much as I can. And so I did. And then, yeah, I think, what was it, like 8 months, 9 months after I joined the team, there was just 4 young dudes in our 20s. We went from 40K a month to, I think our biggest one was like 220K. And yeah, I was running ads, closing the clients, coaching them. And yeah, it was a blast. And then from there, we we set a big goal to do 100K in a week, and we'd have a big reward on the other side of that, where we would each get a Rolex if we were able to do 100K in a week, which was crazy. And so I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm kind of messed up here. I'm like, I won't sleep. And so, oh yeah. So I called every lead in the CRM. I cut my sales calls from 60 minutes slots down to 25 minutes so I could take 2 an hour and like just going nuts. Our setter was crushing. I was blasting ads. And then we're booking like, 15, 20 calls a day. And then on the last day at 9:30 p.m., we hit 100K on the dot.
Wow.
And we're like, we're getting rolling. I'm like, I didn't even know I didn't know any models of Rolexes. Like, I'm not a watch guy. I just knew that like, oh, it's a nice watch and expensive. I'm like, cool. And then a few weeks later, he's like, hey guys, I just feel like it's kind of irresponsible and got a weird feeling in my stomach. Not going to give you guys watches. So I quit. And then, and then kind of scrambled for a bit, kind of figure out, like, I don't know what to do. And so then I kind of just looked around, like, I don't want to just like do the same thing as like we were teaching there. So I'm like, that didn't sit right with me. And then I'm like, what if I just teach what actually worked to scale, which was ads and then appointment setter and then everything else, like personal brand, like content, and sales reps, stuff like that. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna do that. My background's in advertising, so I'm just gonna narrow that down. I had that case study, and then I also coached some of like the mastermind clients on how to start doing the same thing, and they're starting to crush it too. And so I kind of just had a light bulb moment, and then so I started launched the program Summit Scale, and that was just over 2 years ago now. I think we did like, or not we, it was just me at the start. I think I only had like 240 subs on YouTube. I was making YouTube videos for like 6 months prior, kind of while I was still working for the other guy. So I had like 240 subs. And then finally, when I had something to sell, I made like a VSL of like, here's my 100K month game plan. Here's the program I'm going to sell. Here's why. Here's what it's going to be like. Book a call down below. And then did 50K in the first like 5 weeks. And I was like, whoa, it was all one-on-one. I didn't have a program. And I would tell them that too. I'm like, hey, by the way, there's nothing built out yet. It's just me, like one-on-one. And so I was just like, all right, I had a bunch of case studies and results from the other one, but then I'm like, I don't have any of like my own. So I'm like, I got to earn that. And so like I was messaging my clients. I'm like, hey, can we hop on a one-on-one call tomorrow? I want to go over this with you and like whatever. And so, yeah, my first client went from 0 to 10K a month in the first 30 days. And then from there, things just ramped up, scaled. I hired a setter. I was blasting ads, hired a setter, and I had a video editor. But between just me and a setter, we hit 100K a month in 7 months. And then we doubled that again the following month. So 8 months in, we hit just over 200. And then, then from there, I was like, signing kind of too many clients. I raised my prices, turned my ads off, pumped the brakes. I was like, yeah, I got to hire like help to coach and deliver, and then build systems and kind of learn how to build a team and lead and stuff like that. So it just kind of became a little too much. And then, and then since then, like now there's 6 of us on the team. So I got a closer, a setter, a client success manager, an assistant, and a creative director, editor, content guy, and then myself. And so we just got an office this month, which is really sweet. It's in the same building as Dan, like I said before, and it's super cool. So it's been one hell of a ride, but we're having lots of fun. That's for sure.
Talk to us about some of these marketing things, because you had to learn it from doing mortgage stuff, and then for this other person you were coaching with, and then now doing it now. What's the important part about marketing that most people miss?
Great question. I think a lot of people have like kind of split focus on their marketing. So they're making content without real intention. And so I have a bit of a different perspective on things, because if you look at like your funnel, or if you look at your business as a funnel, you have the top, the middle, and the bottom. The top of the funnel is to get new eyeballs, get new people to know about you. The middle of the funnel is to get those people warmed up and nurtured, to get them to know, like, and trust you. And the bottom of the funnel is to engage in a sales conversation and see if you can help them and sign them up.
Right.
And so a lot of people make content to try and just like go viral. So they're making top of funnel content, just try and get lots of eyeballs. But the problem with that is you can't really control who's coming. And so you get a lot of really unqualified leads. It's very inconsistent. I'm not great at making viral content either. And so like, I can't rely on that. And so for the top of funnel, I like to use ads where we get very specific and calling out exactly who we want. And so if you break down like your client profile into kind of like 3 different parts, is ideal client profile, ICP. So there's ICP 1, which is like your best clients, like your bread and butter, the ones that get the best results in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of like hand holding, and like they pay the most, they pay on time every time, and like they lead to the awesome case studies, testimonials, all that kind of stuff. ICP 2 is like probably like it's a lot bigger of a pool, so there's a lot more people that fall in that. You can absolutely help them. They get really good results too, but maybe it takes a little bit more time. They have to build some more foundations and stuff like that. And the ISP3 is like, you can help them, but they're kind of a pain in the ass. You don't really want to. And so one thing I've learned too is like, no client is better than a bad client. Um, and anyway, so when I'm running ads, when I'm writing ads as well, I want to just call out exactly like that ICP one, and then even the twos as well. So it's like, what pains and problems does that person have that nobody else has in the world, that the ISP3s don't, right? So for example, in my case, like we really only work with people that are kind of like doing at least 5 to 30K a month already. And so somebody below 5K a month, kind of just starting from zero, they have different problems than somebody at like 10K a month or 20 trying to scale, right? And so I try to just focus on that. It's like, you have a great offer, you got case studies, you know how to sell, but you just need more people to sell to. And so 99% of people come because they need more leads or better leads. And so I just focus on that. And so when you're running ads in the top of your funnel, that means you can make your middle of funnel content just focus on nurturing. And so one thing that I learned from Alex Becker in one of his programs years ago was this thing called the double diamond framework, which is like, your current audience right now has a set of beliefs. At the top of the diamond, they have a set of beliefs that they hold right now around the thing that you're selling, around like your program, or around just like their growth and their success in general. But the problem is those beliefs are usually limiting beliefs that are preventing them from taking action, preventing them from achieving results and success. So in our content, we have to work at chipping away and destroying those beliefs. So that way we can actually kind of like get them to a neutral state where then they're kind of like ready to be influenced. And like, we're going pretty deep here. But then once they're kind of like at that neutral state, then kind of like, and so it's double down because it's like limiting beliefs up here, and then we get them neutral, and then we kind of do it again. And now we have to kind of install new beliefs that are more empowering, that are going to inspire them to take action, to want to step up, to become better, to achieve success. And ultimately, of course, like take action, do the thing that they know they need to do in order to get to where they want to go. And so as a result, naturally, that could be in joining your program, somebody else's, whatever, it doesn't matter. You just have to kind of like help them kind of get out of their own head in your content, and then help them level up their own identity and their standards. So then they're ready and willing to take that next step and make that leap as well. And so the problem with that is it doesn't go viral very well. And so if you're just doing that, you don't get many leads. So that's why I just focus, like I let my ads do the heavy lifting to get the leads coming through. And then my content in the middle funnel is designed to kind of do that while providing a ton of value, and just kind of like raising the whole, I don't know if you want to call it collective consciousness, or just helping people in general kind of become better and make that next step. And then the better you are at that, the more likely people want to get onto a sales call with you or engage in the sales conversation in the DMs. And then also the more likely they are to join the program too. And to kind of just wrap this up really quickly, there's a quote they say, I think it's in like the programming or like the software engineering world, where it's like garbage in, garbage out. So if you have like garbage code that's really clunky, you're going to get a garbage outcome in your software. It's the exact same with that, with like your business. If you have garbage coming through the top of your funnel, then you're only going to talk to garbage people on the sales calls.
Right.
And so my filter with ads, like I prefer quality over quantity. I just try to get like really specific with who I want and who I don't want. And when I get like good people coming through the top, then I get good people coming out through the bottom too. And then usually they're better clients to work with, get better results, a lot more fun. And like, that's how you build a really good community too. So that all starts from the very top as well.
There's so many ways to market. Like there's tons of different platforms to run ads on. There's the organic approach. There's the cold outbound. There's, tons of different methods. Where do you focus your attention? Because I know you're really laser-like focused on not necessarily testing and doing a bunch of stuff. Like you are really dedicated. What are those platforms, and why do you focus heavily on those?
My favorite are Instagram and YouTube.
Okay.
and they both serve a different purpose. Instagram is kind of the way I see it is like Instagram's very like wide but shallow, whereas YouTube's very like narrow and deep. And so Instagram's great to get new people coming to you. So it's a really easy way to get cheap leads, and you can actually talk to them and have conversations with them, which is awesome. And you can put your face and your name and your voice in front of their eyes every single day, multiple times. So like we post content every single day, post on my stories every day. We post our client wins every day. So it's kind of like my intention, and also retargeting ads is like anytime they open their phone, go on Instagram, it's like, there's me. And so just staying top of mind, right? YouTube is a little bit trickier to do that. With YouTube, right now I'm doing 2 videos a week consistently, and I try to make them really valuable where we like go deep. And if I can get somebody to spend 20, 30, 40 minutes with me and actually teach them something they can go apply and start actually getting results and see success, that's going to leave a really good impression in their mind of me. And so like YouTube is really good for like just nurturing that relationship. And I say like once somebody like we get the leads from Instagram and then we try and send them over to YouTube. And once they get stuck in that YouTube rabbit hole, it's game over. They're going to be a client eventually.
Yeah.
And so both platforms serve individual purposes. And then of course with YouTube too, like I get tons of new leads every week from videos I made like 2 years ago, because they stay there.
Yeah.
and they rank. Whereas Instagram, I make a post and it's kind of gone tomorrow. And so you got to be much more active. But I love the ability to talk to people, and I can see who's following me. I can see the quality of the leads and everything like that too.
Talk to us about like how you have a 70% close rate, because I think that's pretty cool to have. Talk about that. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, so that was I don't think it's that high right now. It dropped down a little bit kind of as I built the sales team out, and we've been like kind of increasing the ad spend too. So as you do, like before, when I was taking my sales calls, I was being very specific with like I was adding a lot of filters on like who could get through onto a sales call.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more like quality you focus on, the less quantity and the less volume you have. So I wasn't taking like a ton of calls, but the people that would hop on, like the intention was set and they're basically ready to rock and roll. Because in my marketing and my content, like I kind of just did the opposite of what everyone else was doing. And so like in my YouTube videos, I'm like, well, that's for the video. If you want my help, then book a call down below. Please don't waste my time. Bring your credit card. Get ready to rock and roll.
You're right.
And so like everyone else was kind of like tiptoeing, like, oh yeah, booking a free strategy session. We'll see if we can like help you and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, hey, like, and again, that's just like knowing my audience and who I was selling to. It's like they all do sales calls themselves. And so like you're not fooling anybody. They know what it is. And so I was kind of being direct and speaking their language, right? And they like that authenticity too. And so with that, like I actually had a lot of really good feedback of like, dude, like I really like when you said that, like I love that because like nobody else is saying that. And yeah, but then when I hired my setter and closer, then they were like, dude, like let's maybe pump the brakes on that a little bit because we just want to book more calls. And my like me personally, I'm like, I didn't really want to spend time on somebody who like might not have closed. But then my sales rep, he's like, dude, like book all the calls we can because it gives me another at bat. It's like he wants to do that. Whereas like I'm like, I got a bunch of other hats to wear. I got a whole bunch of other things to do. I don't want to spend an hour with somebody who's not going to sign up. So there's kind of different levers you can pull depending on kind of like what you're optimizing for and when. So yeah, I think probably right now it's like closer to like 40 to 60 ish, give or take for him. But I haven't taken a sales call in over a year and it's awesome.
Talk about the transition then from being in the business to being that leader in the business, because I think I like to categorize businesses like you got to learn 4 things. You got to learn how to do sales, marketing, right? And then you got to know how to do like the fulfillment and then also like the leadership side of all of that, right? How that transition, those are skills that you have to grow into. And before it's like when you're the technician of sorts where you're in it, you learn and you grow. And 70% close rate, it's because you're the influencer on the other side. So people have this shell shock that they're actually talking to you. So they're, they'll want to work with you. So I can imagine that like that sales, close rate is going to be a lot higher for you on that end. But now leading teams is a different skill than being in the business. Talk about some of those things that you had to learn.
Yeah. Well, I can start with a bit of a story. So I think it was 4 or 5 months ago. I was at the gym, and beside me was Dan Martell, and we were just kind of chatting, whatever, just between sets. And he's like, "Hey, Jeremy, what's your biggest bottleneck right now?" I'm like, "Balancing service delivery and marketing and sales." Because when I turn my ads on and like I start cranking them, we sign a ton of clients, but then I'm still like pretty like stuck on the back end inside the program delivering. Because then every new client, that means more like coaching calls and one-on-one time with me back like on the back end. And so he's like, all right, so what you want to do is like, what you got to learn is how to lead through other people and how to really empower your team to be able to actually like fully step up into that role. Because like I had a client success manager, but like I was still doing like a lot of the stuff too. And so like somebody would sign up, I hop on a one-on-one call, onboarding call with them for 60 minutes, and like help them script out their ads and like put together the game plan, the roadmap. And so I was spending a lot of time on calls. You're signing like, I mean, yeah, at some points like 10 clients a week. And so it's like, that means it's 10 hours of one-on-one calls next week. And then it was starting to add up quite a bit. And so it's like, A, you got to learn how to lead through other people. And then B, you got to learn how to put on one hat and take it off and put on another hat and separate that. So for example, he's like, Coach Jeremy can't tell marketer Jeremy to turn off the tap and to pump the brakes. He's like, think about like a regular business, like an enterprise, like a corporate, like a proper business. It's like, do you think the head of like product is going to tell the head of sales, like the VP of sales, to like stop selling? He'll be like, no, get your head out of your ass, figure it out. Because like, figure out the back end, because like, we're keeping the clients coming.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, how much you spend on ads right now? I'm like, $3,000 a month. He's like, he's like, that's so dumb. And he's like, double that at least today. So I'm like, okay. And then a month later, after doing that, I changed some things
How
around
many
in the back end.
clients did you have at that point with $3,000 a month?
Too many.
That's wild. I mean, typically a lot of the clients I've seen that are like $200,000 a month, they're doing 30,000 in ads. So the fact that you were getting close to that at $3,000 a month is pretty wild.
I don't think I've ever spent more than $15,000 a month
to hit 200. Yeah, that's pretty impressive, Jeremy.
Yeah. And so with that, again, it's like Instagram's great for the lead flow. But once they get into YouTube, start watching YouTube videos. And again, like the value of the YouTube videos is extremely important. That's what contributes to a super high return on ad spend. Because like your ads are just to sell the click and the follow or the DM or whatever, right? But then like people are going to like look you up. They're going to watch your stuff. And before they're going to give you thousands of dollars, they're going to do their homework. And so you got to make sure you build that base really, really solid. And so, I tell a lot of people, you can't just rely on the ads. They're just one little piece of the puzzle. And so, anyway, so after Dan told me that, I got humbled pretty quickly. I was like, okay, fair enough. Double my ad spend. And then literally the next month, we were at the gym again. And I said, hey, Dan, remember that conversation we had like a month ago? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, so I was doing about this much. And he's like, dude, just show me. And I'm like, okay, pull out my Stripe. I show him. It's like plus like 120% growth like from the last month. He's like, nice. I'm like, yeah. And so, so with that, learn to lead through other people and then learn the skill of kind of separating the different roles that you have to fulfill within the business. Because as an entrepreneur, it's like we start with wearing every hat, right? Or the marketer, the sales guy, the fulfillment, the delivery, the back end, the ops, like everything. And so kind of learning who to hire at the right time, but then also making sure you put the right butt in the right seat is really important too. And then, yeah, I know some people love to like micromanage. I think I'm kind of the opposite. I don't know if it's like a West Coast thing where I'm just like kind of just like pretty relaxed and chill. Maybe I need to get better at that.
No, it is a
Um,
West Coast thing for sure. Because I've met a lot of East Coast people that are just like high strung energy, eccentric personalities, and West Coast is a little more chill and relaxed, and it has a different beat and personality type. So it's definitely,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really important that like you get the right people in that are A, good at what they do, but also B, match the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the culture basically is just like, it's like the lowest standards that the leader's willing to tolerate. And so standards, I think it starts with you as the founder, but then also what you're willing to tolerate from the rest of the team. And so
Mm-hmm.
with that, people will self-select out, right? People that aren't great culture fits will eventually either leave or they won't, they just won't last too long. And it's important, like, at least what I've found is like when you get the right people, they're like intrinsically motivated. Of course, you got to align the incentives as well. And we can touch on that in a sec, but um, like when you get the right people, it's like on their own because they get fulfillment from their work. They treat their work like art and like a masterpiece. It's like they just naturally go above and beyond to over deliver, to do more than what's necessary because they just want to succeed and they want to do a good job. They want to be the best.
Yeah.
Whereas I found when you have people that don't fit that, again, they don't last very long. But so there's kind of like two sides of that coin too. One is like the culture fit, the personality, and like kind of who they are just as a person. But then there is on the other side as well, like the tactical thing. So one's more of like a high level, but then like bringing it back down to earth is like kind of the leadership versus the management side. The management would be aligning goals and targets with like hitting certain KPIs. And at the end of the day, kind of like in English, basically just making sure that you're incentivizing more of the behaviors that you want and that everybody's goals are in alignment. So, of course, they want to do the best work that they can. They want to make the most money that they can. I want to align that too. And so, a really cool story is a couple months ago, one of my buddies, I mentioned him earlier. He just hit his first 100K or $1 million month, and we're in a little mastermind together. There's 5 of us. We meet up once a month, and we're all kind of doing anywhere from like 100 to 300K a month. And the name of the thing was $1 million a month mastermind.
Mm.
And so we're all kind of on the path there. And in 3 months, he tripled his business from 300 to $1 million a month with all the same people on the team. Didn't spend $1 on ads, and he went from 300 to $1 million a month. The way he did that is he aligned the incentives of the team, and so he eliminated base pay for everybody, but he opened up like basically the opportunity for everyone to make 2 to 3 times more,
Mm-hmm.
but based on performance. And then he also opened up a little pool for profit share too. And so he's like, dude, even VAs get a piece of the pie in the
Wow.
profit share.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay. But obviously people that are like closer to the money get the most, and that have been with him for the longest get the biggest share. And then it kind of trickles down from there. But he's like, yeah, now I have like, now all of the team meetings and like my whole team, like everybody, even from front end to back end, like they're trying to figure out ways to increase sales and increase profitability too. He's like, it's amazing. He's like, I'm working less. He's like, I only take 2 calls a week, Monday and Thursday. Monday is the kind of all hands general team call. And then Thursday is a sales training for the whole team as well. And then they take care of the rest. And so I learned a lot of really good, really valuable lessons in that story, of just making sure that like because like he wanted to hit $1 million a month. His team didn't care about him making $1 million a month.
Right.
His team wanted to increase how much they make too. And so he aligned both of those incentives so they both had the same goal. And the clients win too, because now like even people on the like client support in the back end, like they're trying to reduce refunds, increase like client success and retention and all that kind of stuff too, and LTV. So everyone just has the exact same vision, and their goals are aligned.
What has that allowed you to do more personally now that you've aligned some of these things up? What has that allowed you to really kind of refocus? Has it been more of like the creative side that you've been able to have more of a bandwidth and energy from? Because you do boxing and other things. What has that helped you kind of inspire? Being around those type of people, doing it yourself, what has that helped you really kind of think through and process and build?
Yeah, definitely the creative side. And so it's both from like a personal, but also from like a business benefit. Like personally, I love just learning and growing, but then also teaching that
Yeah.
and kind of distilling it down. And so I can't remember the name. I think it was the culture index. It's kind of like Myers-Briggs, but it's for like kind of team culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you like personality traits or like an identity. And mine was the scholar. So somebody that likes to kind of learn a lot, take a lot of knowledge, and then distill it down
Mm-hmm.
and then teach it really simply. And so I love doing that. So I love making YouTube videos and content, stuff like that. I never used to be like this. I used to like I said, I turned my phone off for 6 months, deactivated my Instagram for a long time. Like I was like terrified to post my first piece of content,
Yeah.
like very introverted, but had to grow into a different version of myself to achieve the things that I wanted. And that was what was required. But now, yeah, kind of like pulling myself out of the trenches a little bit, I'm able to make better content for like my personal brand. But also like yesterday, I recorded a couple new trainings for my program for my clients. And so it helps me show up better for them, show up better for my audience, show up better for my team. Cause now I can learn more about like leadership and team building
Yeah.
and systems and stuff like that too. And so, yeah, it's been awesome. Cause like before I was kind of having a hard time finding the time, or that's an excuse, but making the time to learn and read and stuff like that. Whereas now it's like in the last 4 weeks, I think I've finished like 5 books.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
I saw something that you and I both do, which is we're on the treadmill, we're on a bike, and we're reading. I've never seen anybody do it, and I did that, and I record myself, and then I saw you doing it, and I was like, hey, like-minded brothers, because it's like might as well batch all that stuff. Like I'd love it. I don't know why people don't really do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. And it's really important to like surround yourself with the right people. So my content guy, Timmy, him and I, like, we go to the gym every morning. We train together all the time. Like, we were actually really good friends before we started working together.
Mm.
And I used to read, like, a few years ago, I used to read a book a week. And then last year, didn't really read that much.
Mm.
But Timmy was like, dude, he's like, I've never finished a book in my life.
Wow.
But this year, I'm reading 1 book a week. I'm reading 52 books a year. And I was like, he said this at the start of January. I was like, I'll match you.
There you go.
I'm like, game on, let's go.
Yeah.
And so now every morning at the gym, there's Timmy and I on the treadmill. He was on the bike this morning, just cranking out chapters and pages. And yeah, but like I wouldn't have done that if like he first didn't initiate that. And I was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. I got to raise my standards too. So it's really important to be around the right people.
Where did this drive come from for success, Jeremy? Like you're wired a little bit different. Like you and I, the reason why I wanted you on the podcast is because I've noticed that there's winning traits of successful people, and you have that grit and that grind to do whatever it takes. Was that a wiring from your parents, or just way that you personally are? Like what's because you and I both see this in a lot of fronts is people want things, they just never take the bulls by the horn to do it. And you and I, the reason why we've achieved the success and that we've had is because we do the things that are uncomfortable and do the hard things that most people won't. Like, talk to us about a little bit about that.
One of my friend's dad had an awesome quote. He said, if you want to have what others don't, you got to do what others won't. And I think when you understand like the 1% is the 1% for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They go against the grain and they do everything that the 99% aren't willing to do or just don't want to do. And that's that. But both my parents are entrepreneurial, which definitely helps. They're very supportive too, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I would be here without that because like while I was in their basement, like I think a lot of parents would like kind of just be like, oh, why are you doing this stupid thing online and go get a job? They were like very supportive. So that was awesome. But like going through high school and the first couple of years of college, like I wanted to go into finance, be an investment banker. I think just because I want to make a lot of money, work a lot, and have an office with a nice view. And that was the only route I thought of.
Yeah.
And I started watching YouTube videos of guys that were young, making money online, having the time, location freedom, and financial freedom to do whatever they wanted. I was like, I want that.
Right.
But I had no idea what that looked like. And then so between second and third year, so it was back in 2017, I moved away for the summer between schools. So for 4 months, I moved to Banff, Alberta, and I worked at this like castle in the Rockies, this hotel. And I worked on like the exclusive, like more expensive floor. There's like it was called the Fairmont Gold floor, and there's like private lounge in there. And so it was like, I think it was like $2,000 a night minimum for one of the rooms there. And it was packed out, fully booked the entire summer. And so every day I go to work, I would just talk to these people that are paying $2,000 a night to stay there. And I was like, how is this even? I'm like, I'm making $2,000 a month working 6 days a week. My brain was not working. But before I moved out there, my mom gave me the book, Think and Grow Rich. And I was like, thanks. But like, what am I going to do with this? I'm like, I don't read. Like, she's like, just take it. And I was like, all right. So after work, I go down to the hot tub. I go to the gym and then go down to the hot tub, and I would just read this. And then I would like, it just really kind of expanded my perspective and opened my mind to like actually see what was possible and to just think bigger. And then I remember telling myself back then, I'm like, one day, like, I don't know when, don't know how, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to be on the other side. I'm going to be the one being served, not the one serving. And so a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, after I started my business, hit my first, I think it was a reward for my first 30K month. And then I booked a trip. And then while I was there, I hit my first 100K month while I was climbing a mountain and staying at that hotel. But I visualized every single thing. I visualized me going there on the going there on the Saturday, dropping my car off, summiting this huge mountain that I wanted to climb that I didn't have time to when I lived there. And doing that, coming back in, checking in, going up to the Fairmont Gold, checking in, having a room with a view of the mountain I just climbed, then going down to the hot tub and the pool, relaxing, getting a massage, recovering, going to the steakhouse, getting a Wagyu steak, having a glass of champagne, and then hitting the driving range in the morning before coming home. And so like I'd play that mental movie in my head over and over and over. And so while I was there, it was just like deja vu. It was nuts. And so it was a really cool feeling. But yeah, I think it started with that and kind of just seeing what was possible, but then also like seeing other people being able to do that showed me that like, oh, it's not something so far out of touch and out of reach. It's something that is actually available. I just have to work really hard and kind of find the right thing and put one foot in front of the other. And so I made a promise to myself after I finished school. I was like, I will never get a 9-to-5. I'm like, I can't. Like, I don't know what business I'm starting, but I can't. And I worked some like odd jobs here and there to make some cash and kind of get by. You got to do what you got to do. But I think I kind of forced myself in that corner, burned my boats, and didn't give myself any other option.
What's next for you now?
Well, we've got some big plans, and the aim is $1 million a month. And it's not so much about the money. It's about forcing myself to become better because in order to do that, I'm going to have to change a lot of the things that I'm doing right now. I learned a lot new skills and just really just develop and grow and become somebody that makes my current self very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And with that too, like we've got something that works really well. We got awesome like client results. So I just want to help more people make a bigger impact. I love hosting live events too. We got one coming up in Miami soon. which can be fun. And it's just so cool, like meeting people in person. So I want to host an event with like over 100 people at some point. That's gonna be a lot of fun. I'd love to get the Summit HQ in person. So have like kind of a combined, almost like a warehouse type thing where it's like a bunch of nice cars down below, gym, loft with like the offices and stuff up top. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so that's what's coming up on the horizon.
That's awesome, man. How can people follow you and connect with you further?
Yeah, so YouTube and Instagram. YouTube is just Jeremy Pogue, Pogue. Instagram is Jeremy_Pogue. And so, very active on both of them. And
Awesome. I'll link those links down below in the show notes. Go follow Jeremy, connect with him, learn a lot from him. He's such a cool guy. He has some big vision. He's going some different places. So you're going to see him just start crushing it even more, going to the moon, see more connections with, him being a celebrity and bigger influence than he is already. So go check him out. We will see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for having me, Nathan.